Alright, so hi folks, my name is Karen Brown. I'm here from the Student Awards and Financial Aid Office here at the University of Regina. I'm here today to talk to you about applying for scholarships through our database application, which is called SAMS, which stands for Student Awards Management System. So to find SAMS, the easiest way is to go from the main University of Regina page up in the top corner here, and I've got to do some fancy zooming for you, so hopefully you can see that. Just type in SAMS and hit enter. And then the first link that you see there is the one you want to click on, which brings you to our page where you can click on the login to SAMS, and then you can log into SAMS from here. If you've never used SAMS before, you need to register as a user in SAMS because it's not connected with the other University of Regina systems. So it's important that to do that, you click on the arrow under registration. And then when you scroll down, you can see you create your own SAMS user ID. So anything you want. We usually recommend something you'll remember, like your login for your courses or your student ID number. Those are the types of things that you're going to associate with the University of Regina and would be really good to use in SAMS. So you create that user ID, enter in your email address, make sure that there's no errors in there. Your first name and last name should be the same as it appears on your University of Regina record. So if you're in the process of changing your name, use the one that you had before because that's what's going to connect with our system here. Your date of birth, and then your U of R student ID. Don't worry about the Sask Ed Learner ID. That's more for high school students that are coming in. As far as my understanding is that you guys are all students here right now, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. So do go ahead and fill that in. I don't know how many people haven't registered in SAMS yet, so we will just keep trucking along. If you already have your username and password, please feel free to log in. So I have a sample student that we've set up so that I can log in and show you everything from a student's perspective. So we'll just get that fired up. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute just to register as a new user if you need to, or get logged into SAMS. For those of you that are already logged into SAMS and ready to go, if you want to start looking and seeing what's available for application, just clicking on awards currently accepting applications here. I'm just going to zoom that in a little bit more. So hopefully you can see it a little bit better. There, I think that's... Okay, so you can go ahead and just start looking around, seeing what's available. When you click on the award names, it'll bring you to the eligibility criteria. So over here, you'll find the write-up on what you need to meet to be eligible for an award. So this one here, for example, is awarded to a University of Regina part-time student who is enrolled in a minimum of 3 credit hours. Preference is given to applicants who have demonstrated involvement with community activities, concerned with the status of women and or women's learning. So it's part-time student. That means you're either in 3 credit hours or 6 credit hours. Less than 9, because 9 means that you're full-time. And then financial need will be considered. And this one here is the Milner Alexander Award for Women. So if anyone is interested in applying for this one, that's something that you can look at. Okay, now I'm just going to go back to my home page. Hopefully you guys are all logged in now and ready to go. So I'm just going to go through what this page looks like. Just going to zoom out a little bit. So you can see there's lots of information on here. This top box here is just basically a welcome to SAMS, a link to a page where we have help and instructions, and then just a note to please use Internet Explorer for full functionality in SAMS. So in here, sorry, I'm just going to zoom back in. There's a few different things. So awards currently accepting applications. Those are the awards that are open right now for you to apply for. So anything that you can put an application in for is in there. The Search All Awards is everything we have available. This semester, next semester, Convocation Awards. There are a number of awards that don't require an application, so those ones are in here too. With those ones, the faculties just go through the students that are in their programs, that are eligible for the award, and they select a recipient that way. Search All Entrance Awards, you don't need to worry about. View My Profile and Application. That's a quick way for you to jump straight into your application. So if you've already gone through and added awards on a previous day, and now you want to go back in and finish filling out your application or review it just to make sure everything's good, you can click on that and that takes you straight there. The other things there aren't as important to look at right now. Awards that I'm applying for this term, all winners have not been selected. You can use that to just sort of keep an eye on the status of awards. As we select recipients, they will disappear out of that portal. View All My Past Submitted Applications will be all the awards that you've applied for in previous semesters. If you want to see what you had for your personal statement or your extracurricular activity list, you can click on that and get there and find that information there too. And then all past awards that I have received as of January 1st, 2013 will just list all of the awards that are on your record. Okay, so I'm going to go and click on the most important thing right now, which is awards currently accepting application. Okay, and you can see it gives you a list. There's 15 awards listed on this page. You can use this arrow to navigate through, so it'll just keep moving you through. If you want to see more awards per page where it says rows here, you can click on that and change it to show, 20, 25, 30, 50, whatever it is you want to look at. Okay, so let's say you want to see 25 per page. You click on that, and now you can see it's 1 to 25. One thing to note, the more lines that you want to see on a page, the slower SAMS is going to run when it's bringing you back to that page. So I do recommend that you keep it under 30, but you can change it to more if you want to see more at a time. So one of the best things you can do when you're looking at awards, right now there's almost 300 awards listed there for you to apply for. That's a lot of awards to go through. So I'm going to show you some ways to narrow that list down so that you know what meets your requirements. So if you click on this magnifying glass here, just making sure, yeah, you can see that okay, and click on your faculty of study, you're going to put in what your faculty of study is. So I don't know, do the students generally have just one faculty of study or are they in CCE? Okay, perfect. So we're going to pick for faculty of study, we're going to go with arts. Oops. So now this has narrowed it down. So we have a column here for faculty of study. With that filter, I'm now searching in that column of faculty of study for anything that contains the word arts. It's really important that it has that contains, and using that magnifying glass automatically puts contains in there. Because if you just look for faculty of study equals arts, you're going to filter out all those ones that are open to arts and science and fine arts and all those other different programs. So putting in arts with the contains will allow you to see all of the awards that are available for students in arts. So then as you go over, you can also see that there's field of study for some of them. So this award goes to a student that's studying philosophy. If you're not in philosophy, there's not a point in checking out that award, so you would skip down to the next one. These are just some ways that you can narrow down that list so you're not trying to look at 300 awards to find the ones that are open for you. You can see there's some here, like this one says economics, all computer science. You could go into ones that have a bunch of different things that say all in them just to see, in my program of study, I'm in a Bachelor of Arts, can I apply for this or is it open to just specific programs in that field? Okay, and you can go through like that. You can also put a filter on this if you want to look for your specific program. So let's say you're doing economics. You can use that magnifying glass and go down to field of study. So let's actually do that. Just scrolling back up. I'm going to add another filter on field of study for economics. So now you can see I've got 4 awards. So I'm now looking at awards that have faculty of study arts and field of study economics. So it's narrowed that down to 4 awards. There's 4 awards open for students specifically in economics. You can also modify that filter. You can either remove it by clicking on the X, or if you just want to modify it, you can actually just click right on it. And then here where it says economics, I'm going to change that to all. And then you have to click on, oops, apply. And I didn't do that right. Okay, let's try that again. So field of study is all. Click on apply. And And there we go. So now I'm looking for faculty of study contains art, field of study contains all. So now I'm looking at things that are in there that are open to all students in that program. So now you can see I've got 1 of 14. And if I scroll over here, you can see some of them have, you know, all economics, computer science, all. So you're going to want to go into those ones and just take a look and read the criteria and see if it is actually open to a student in your program. And then read the rest of the criteria to make sure you meet them. So for example, let's look at the University of Regina Dr. Joanne Roy bursary. So it's awarded to a University of Regina undergraduate female student who meets the following criteria. So first of all, you need to be a female student. If you're a male student, you wouldn't be eligible for this award. Pursuing an undergraduate degree in the faculty or department specified annually by the University of Regina. Women. So for fall 2016, you need to be in the Faculty of Arts or Science, in clinical psychology, in child or family studies. So if you're in that program, you could apply for this award. Has completed a minimum of 53 credit hours. So that's another criteria that you can actually use on that front page to narrow down which ones you want to look at. And I'll show you that when we go back there. But you would just keep going down through the criteria and making sure, okay, do I meet that criteria? Do I meet this criteria? If you've looked them all over and you're pretty sure that you meet all of the criteria, what you want to do at that point is just at the top right of the screen, there's this apply for award under other actions. If you click on that, sometimes it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but if you can't actually click on the links for anything, then you know that SAMS is thinking. Okay, so it does take it a little bit of time to add it to your application, so we're just going to give it a minute there. Hope you guys are all having a great day so far. If you do have any questions throughout, just maybe save them till the end, and we'll do a thing where you can call in and ask your questions at that point. That's probably the easiest way to do it with this format. But yeah, so write down your questions, just to make sure you don't forget them, keep track of them, and then yeah, if you have the questions, we'll do that at the end. Just waiting for SAMS. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. It has actually made our lives a lot easier. I think it's made students' lives a lot easier. It just does take a little bit of time to do its thinking. So I think that it is, there we go. So now you can see at the top, it's told me that my application was created. Once I am ready, click Go to My Applications to view all the applications you have created. So once you're done adding awards to your application, you can click on Go to My Applications here to go to your application and start filling out those sections that you need to fill out. Okay, but right now I want to go back. So we do recommend that you don't use your browser back buttons when you're navigating through SAMS. It will get you sort of where you need to go, but it does kind of jump you around oddly. SAMS has its own built-in back buttons that will take you back to the previous page. So if you use your browser back button, it's not the end of the world. You can get back to where you were, but we do recommend using SAM's back button instead. So I'm back to my list, and as promised, I will show you over here. We have the minimum number of credits completed and the maximum number of credits completed. So if you click on minimum number of credits completed, you can see there's a number of different numbers in there. So if you sort them, it'll put all the blanks at the top, and then scrolling down it'll say, so let's say I've completed 50 credit hours. Okay, I know that's an odd number, normally you don't complete 50, but let's say I did a couple of 1 credit hour classes in there, and so I've got 50 credit hours under my belt. I can quickly look at this and say, okay, I need a minimum of 83 credit hours for this award. I have 50, I'm not eligible, there's no point in even reading those criteria. Okay, and same thing with these ones that require 53 credit hours. I know I'm not going to meet that criteria. I don't even need to look at those awards. Okay, so you can use that to, again, just narrow down the awards that you actually want to look at in further detail. Then anything that has less than 50, so like the 30, the 24, the 23, all of those I can go in and take a look at because I know that I've met that criteria. I just need to check the other criteria for those awards. Okay, and then over here you can see there's just a few more things that sometimes students want to narrow the list down for. So if you're an Aboriginal student, this one here you can actually just do a filter by clicking on the header row because these are just yes or no options. So if you're Aboriginal, you would click yes, and now it's just going to narrow that list down within our other filters to find awards that are just for Aboriginal students. If you're not Aboriginal, you may still want to read some of these. Sometimes it's just a preference for an Aboriginal student. Now, what preference means is that the donor has set up the award and would prefer that the award goes to an Aboriginal student. However, if there are no Aboriginal students eligible that apply for the award, then it will go to a student who is not Aboriginal. Okay, so do apply for those ones if you meet the rest of the criteria, because there is the opportunity that you may receive the award. If it doesn't say preference, if it just says self-declared Aboriginal student under the criteria, you would not be eligible for that award because it has to go to a student that meets that criteria. Okay, so you do want to pay attention to preference. That just means that it'd be nice if it goes to that student, but it doesn't have to. Okay, and then disability, we do have some awards that are open for students with a disability, and specifically for students with a disability. So if you wanted to look at that, you would take off all of your other filters and just do a filter on disability to get all of those awards at once. Awards for female students. Travel usually means students that are going on a study permit to another, that are going to another institution, not on an exchange. That's the word I'm looking for, not a study permit, going on an exchange. So there are some awards that are open for students going on exchanges. If you are planning to go on an exchange next semester, if you are on an exchange this semester, that is something you will want to do a filter on there and find the different awards that are available. Okay, so I'm just going to run back over here and take off all my filters. So just clicking on those X's will remove those filters. Once you've done your filter on your faculty of study, you do also want to do filter for faculty of study and then all. And the reason you want to do that is you want to look at the awards specifically for students in your faculty, and then also for awards that are open to students in any program. Okay, because there are awards that are, there's more awards open for students in any program than there are for students in specific programs. So you do that, and then if you scroll over, you can again see there's the field of study. Sometimes there will be things in there, oftentimes not, and then you can sort on the minimum number of credits completed again if you want to. Okay, so you can see, 9, 12, 15, all the way down, and then on the next, somewhere on the next page, I'm going to reach that 50, and those are the ones I'm going to want to stop and not apply for. Okay, and then if you do your filter, or your sort rather, the other way, there's also all these ones that are blank here for credit hours completed. So if we go in and look at one of them, okay, it's thinking. I'm really impatient. I like my computers to work the minute I touch something. And then I keep pressing other things on it, and sometimes it screws up. So I recommend just being patient if you know that it's thinking. You can see the little circle up here at the top. So I know it's doing something. I'm just going to be patient and try and be patient and wait. And yeah, I clicked too many times. There we go. All right, so it's dropped me onto the eligibility criteria for this page. Okay, this one's probably a bad example because you need to be enrolled in the Campus for All program, which I imagine most of you probably are not enrolled in. But let's say it said something else. Let's say it said enrolled in the Bachelor of Arts program. Completed a minimum of 1 year in the program. Is an active volunteer with 1 or more registered charities and demonstrates volunteer work with nonprofit organizations. Preference will be given to the student who has completed the most volunteer hours in the previous academic year. And students may receive this award once in their academic career. So now we're looking for a student who has completed a minimum of 1 year, but it doesn't say how many credit hours you have to have completed. So as long as you've been here for a year and done some stuff, you're good. And then you have to meet the rest of those criteria. So being an active volunteer with 1 or more registered charities, if you've got that, then you're good on that criteria. Preference given to the student who has completed the most volunteer hours in the previous academic year. Okay, you're not going to know who else is applying for it. You may as well apply for it because even if you've only done, 5 hours in a semester, you might have the most volunteer hours compared with other students that apply. So if you've got volunteer hours, it's worth applying for the award. Okay, but I am not going to apply for that one. Let's find my back button. Let's go look at a different award. Yes. Yeah, so if you want to look for a specific award in the magnifying glass, you can just type in part of the name. So we're going to look for an award that has Campbell in it. So we've got the Dr. Brian H. Campbell Award in Distance Learning. You can see there's 2 here. The C means that it's for a continuing student, as you can see here under award category. Oops. And then the E is for an entrant student. So let's assume that we're looking at the continuing award. So we're going to click on that and then drag it over to the eligibility. And so for this one here, the award will be presented to a University of Regina undergraduate student who meets all the following criteria: pursuing undergraduate studies in a degree, diploma, or certificate program, registered and remains registered in a minimum of 9 credit hours of distance learning courses in the semester the award is presented. So you need to be in 9 credit hours, and they need to be distance learning classes. These courses must be University of Regina courses at a distance, so live streamed and or online and or face-to-face at a college outside of Regina or Saskatoon. Completed a minimum of 15 credit hours at the University of Regina. So if you've done 15 credit hours, you're in 9 credit hours of distance learning courses, you've met those criteria. Has attained a minimum undergraduate grade point average of 75%. So if you've got the UGPA, and has successfully completed at least 3 University of Regina courses at a distance, live and or online and or face-to-face at a college outside Regina or Saskatoon. And then preference will be given to students studying at an off-campus location. So if you meet all of those criteria, and this is a really good award to talk about here, so if you've met those criteria, you would just go up to the top of the page and click on Apply for Award. And we're just going to give Sam's a minute to think about that and add it to our application.
Sam's more, is it browser sensitive? Like, do you have to use Internet Explorer? Can they use Safari?
Okay, so the question is it browser sensitive? Do we have to use Internet Explorer? Can you use Safari? We really strongly encourage you to not use Safari. Safari is a very bad browser with SAMs. It does not work properly, so really recommend you don't use Safari. You can try Chrome and Firefox. Those ones don't seem to have any issues, but for the best results, we do suggest that you use Internet Explorer to ensure that everything functions properly. We are in the process of working on an upgrade that will get rid of the browser issues, but that will not be in place for this application. So when you're applying for awards, try to use Internet Explorer and stay far, far away from Safari. Okay, so our application was created, so this has been added to my record. So I'm just going to click on the back. So I'm just going to try and find one more award to apply for. I just want to try and make sure that I'm getting all the sections in there so that I can show you the different sections that are on the applications. So let me try this one. All right, just going to throw this one on there. Do you have any other questions, Mila? Nope. Okay. Just going to take a sip of my drink so that I don't lose my voice. So if you have any questions after today, we'll ask your questions at the end. We'll do our best to answer all of them. But if you go and you start working on this and you have further questions, you can always give us a call back. You can always call us. So this is our website here, and then down, if you go to the home page, so where it says SAFA Home, click on that. I don't know if that's not very easy to read. There we go. So on the SAFA homepage, down here we have this Contact Us. So that's our phone number there. You can call us toll-free as well. And then you can also send us an email to scholarships@uregina.ca if it's regarding scholarships. If you have student loans questions, we do also deal with that in my office. So you can just email us at student.loans@uregina.ca. Then if you have any questions on undergraduate admissions or student recruitment, probably not because you all are all admitted already, but you can also email enrollment services at enrollment.services@uregina.ca. Okay, so let's go back into SAMS. There we go. I just want to go and see what my application looks like to see if all the sections that I want to talk about are in there. Okay, good. Yeah, so So we're good. When you, okay, I'm going to zoom out. I know it's going to look terrible. But I just want to show you how it looks. So on the left-hand side here, you see all the different sections for your awards. So here's your fall 2016 awards I'm applying for. There's the different awards listed, and then some sections down here. Okay, so I kind of want to go through what that means. And each one of these things here has information on the right-hand side. It's this information here that's more important. So I'm going to zoom in on this and probably not go back too much to the other page. Okay, I know that that's not pretty, but I don't want to zoom in too much further. It's going to be really difficult to show you what I'm trying to show you. So hopefully that's good enough. So on the first page here, it'll have your student ID number and your date of birth. Again, it's important that these match your University of Regina record because this is what's going to pull your program information into SAMS for you. Okay, if your information does not exactly match your record, we will go in and fix anything that's not pulling everything in when we're going through and adjudicating the awards. But it is something that you can try and do now. If you notice that your student ID number is not quite right, or maybe you put 2016 for your date of birth year, those are common errors that do happen, then you can go ahead and fix that right now. So in these pages, we have nice next and previous buttons built into it so that you can navigate through nicely. We do recommend using those buttons when you're going through the awards that you've applied for and the sections, just to make sure that you're not missing anything important. Okay, so the first page is, do you have a Canadian Social Insurance number, and what is it? We ask this information because if you get selected for an award, we do need to report for tax purposes at the end of the year. So if we get your social insurance number up front, we don't have to track you down in the end. If you prefer not to put it in SAMS, but you want to give it to us, you can just give us a call and we can enter it into the system from that. SAMS we don't share your information with third parties. We don't share we're not going to blast your social insurance number out to anyone. So you can put it in there comfortably, but if you prefer not to, just give us a call and we can put it in our other system. So then the next page is your current academic profile, which for this student doesn't have one because this is just a dummy student. But yours would generally pull in your year of study, your different GPAs, your transfer credits, earned hours, total hours, and registered hours. If any of it's not quite correct, just let us know by email and we'll take a look into it for you. But typically it should be correct unless maybe you changed your last name or something like that. It's usually something along those lines. If you have questions on the different GPA types, because the U of R does have a few different GPAs that we use, you can go back to our home page. So from SAFA Home, you go to Scholarships and Awards, and then down on the left-hand side, we have a Glossary of Terms. And then we do have all of those GPAs in there. You can see here's the CGPA, PGPA, SGPA, TGPA, and UGPA. So we've got all of those definitions in there. I'm not going to bore you right now going over those. Maybe if I have to get SAMS to think about something, I'll go over and explain what they all are to you. But you can just go there and read the description. And if you're not sure, you can always give us a call and we can explain in further detail what that means. For awards purposes, if you've received transfer hours from another institution, those do count towards your total hours. So when you're looking at the criteria, it says completed 53 credit hours in your program, you've got 21 transfer credits and let's say 36 credit hours here. You've now got 57 credit hours. So you do meet that 51 credit hour requirement. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, and you can see that all here. So I'm going to go. The next page, if it's matched to your U of R record, will actually be my current program information, which will outline the faculty of study and your major and minor that you are registered in. If you are working on concurrent programs, let's say you're working on your Bachelor of Arts and your Bachelor of Science at the same time, and only one of them is showing in SAMS, you can add that extra program in the top right-hand corner. There would be a link, I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's basically add current program information. You click on that, it opens up a whole new record that you can just free type into. Okay, so that is something that you can do if you're working on more than one degree. But now you can see I'm on this Fall 2016 awards that I'm applying for. You have not yet submitted your application. That's my current status here. So what that's just saying is my application is open, I can work on it, but it's not been submitted. Before October 3rd, you want to make sure that you submit your application, or by October 3rd, I guess that's the deadline. To do that, you come back to this page, and up here in the right-hand corner, submit completed application for all awards. You don't have to memorize that this is the page you need to come back to. All of the pages that fall underneath the Fall 2016 awards I'm applying for will have a link to bring you back here. Okay, so this is the page you need to come back to actually submit it, but you can easily get back there from the other pages. So this one here just outlines the awards that you've added to your application. So I'm going to click Next. It's going to bring me down to one of the awards. So the Dr. Brian H. Campbell Award in Distance Learning. I'm going to come over here and you can reread the criteria to, again, just double check that you're pretty sure you meet all the criteria. And then down here it's got the application requirements, which will show you the different sections that are required for this award. So is financial disclosure required? No. Personal statement? No. Activity summary? No. Other required info? Yes. I need to list the 3 University of Regina courses that I've taken at a distance, just so that we can report that to the selection committee. So beyond that, there aren't any other criteria any other things that you need to do. So I'm just going to come over here and click Next. And you can see here underneath it here, there's this other requirement. Not every award will have an other requirement. The other requirement is something very specific for that award. So for this award here, I'm just going to use the arrow keys, that might be better. This is where you will list the courses that you've taken at a distance. So application for continuing students must include information for the 3 of our courses taken at a distance. Please provide course title, course number, and method of delivery for each course below. So you would say yes, and then you would list them here. So let's say I took English 100 on the web, Psych 204, at a televised, and SOS 200, face to face in, sorry? In Great Plains, perfect. So you just list them there, and that's good enough. You've listed the courses, that's what we needed from you. So you can either hit save at the top here. There is a save icon. You can do Control S to save, or you can click on the next button to navigate to the next page, and it will save your work for you. So I like doing it that way, just then I'm moving along as efficiently as possible without doing a million clicks. So the next page is now I'm on to the Morley Wood Memorial Scholarship for Aboriginal female students. And again, here's the different criteria that I need to meet. And then down here, so financial disclosure is required, no personal statement, and I need to do an activity summary. So an activity summary will be in the other sections, and it's just a list of the extracurricular things you're involved in and your community and volunteer service. Okay, and then other required info in 250 words or less, a statement of contributions to date with respect in promoting Aboriginal women in community-based or regional Aboriginal projects or programs. That is a mouthful, but I would need to prepare that document. That's not my personal statement because it's so specific and tailored for this award. Generally, you get one personal statement for all of the awards you're applying for. So if you've applied for 10 awards and 5 of them ask for a personal statement, you need to make sure that you're touching on the high points that each of those awards is looking for. Now, generally, there's 4 different things that is a criteria for awards. There's your leadership, your extracurricular involvement, your community and volunteer service, and your career goals. Those are the 4 big things that most awards that ask for a personal statement need you to talk about. Which is why instead of writing 10 different personal statements for 10 different awards, you write one personal statement for all of those awards, and then just make sure that you're touching on each of those things that they're asking for. And then I also need demonstrated financial needs, so that's why that financial disclosure is there. So if I click on the next button, you can see this one also has an other requirement. This is where I'm going to attach that 250 word statement of contributions to date. So I'm going to type up that document, save it as either a Word file or a PDF, not Pages if you use a Mac. So I'm going to say, have you included your statement? Yes. Down here you can browse for it and then attach it. So you browse for the file, click attach, it'll show up in here with the file name that you have saved for it. And then if you change your mind or if you oopsies added the wrong file, you can just, there's a little red X that you can click on to remove it from there. Okay, so that is something that you'll need to do for this award. Then you would click next. And then we've got the University of Regina Women Dr. Joanne Roy Bursary. So if I scroll over and then read over the criteria, go down to the bottom. So this one requires financial disclosure, a personal statement, and an activity summary. So this one here does have that personal statement. So now that I've found one that has a personal statement, I just want to go back up to the criteria and make a note of what I need to talk about in my personal statement. So it's a really good idea to go through the list of awards that you've applied for, find all the ones that require a personal statement, and then just check to see what do I need to do for this one. So for this one here, you can just scan, okay, that's about the degree, that's about the credit hours, that's UGPA, that's how many I'm enrolled in. Here we go. Is actively involved in extracurricular activities both on and off the university campus. Example, sports, social clubs, volunteering, entrepreneurship, etc. So basically I just need to be involved in activities either on campus or off campus. Doesn't matter what it is, I just need to be involved. So okay, so I know what I need to talk about. Then I would go and find all those other awards that I've added that need me to talk about something in my personal statement, put it all together and figure out what I'm going to write about. So if I click next, now I'm on to sections I must complete for this 2016 application. This is just a header row for the bottom half of your application. Okay, so it separates the awards from the rest of the stuff you need to do. So you don't need to do anything on this page. It's just there for information. So you click next and you're on to the disclaimer page. So what the disclaimer page is you are telling us that everything you've told us in your application is true, complete, and accurate. You haven't lied about anything. You understand that we can contact you for proof of anything if we want to, and that you'll provide supporting documentation. If you receive an award, the funds will be applied to your student account. Okay, so it's important that you know that. If you've already paid your student account in full, you can ask for a refund from financial services. And then you also are agreeing to us to share your information with the donor of the award, external relations, and your faculty in college. So the information that we share with them is your name, the program of study that you're in, the year of the program you're in, which award you got, and the award value. Unless we ask very specifically in one of the awards for you to give consent to share your information with the donor, we aren't going to share your information with the donor. If they want to contact you after the fact to reach out and congratulate you or invite you to a special dinner or something, they go through us. We would contact you on their behalf and put you in contact with them. Okay, so you don't have to worry. We do protect your privacy here. And then the bottom half is just telling you how we collect your information and make sure that we're protecting your privacy. So I'm just going to scooch over here. So by selecting yes, you're indicating your understanding and agreement with these two things. So you would select yes. The bottom would just ask if you're currently working towards the completion of 2 separate degrees. If you're not working on like 2 degrees at the same time, just leave that as no. If you are, you can change it to yes, but then also just make sure you're putting that in your program information pages as well. So I'm going to click next to save my answer. Now I'm on the financial disclosure page. This is where we get the most questions, so I am going to try and go over it as best as I can. So the first question is, have you applied? Are you receiving government student loans for this academic term? So if you are receiving government student loans, you would say yes. If you're not, you would say no. And then just what is your expected amount? So I'm going to put $8,000. Actually, no, I'm going to put $5,000. Because we just want to know for this term. So if you've applied for a 2-semester loan for the fall and the winter, just divide that number in half, and this is what you're getting for this semester. Okay, and then you pick what faculty of study you're in. So I think I said I was in arts, so we're going to go with arts. And then how many credit hours are you registered in this semester? So I'm going to say that I am in 9 credit hours in the Faculty of Arts. Okay, this is going to automatically calculate for you what your cost of course load is. It's not going to be a perfect number. It is an estimate, but your course load will include your tuition and fees and books for that program. So we get that information from the faculties. We ask them what are students in this year of their program in a full load, typically paying for tuition and books and fees. And then we just sort of average that out for like 1 credit hour, it's this much. So like I said, it is a calculation, it's an estimate. Don't expect it to exactly match your student record, but it's the best that we can do. For your Saskatchewan student living allowance, you choose what your living situation is. Are you living away from home? Are you living at home? Are you a single parent student? Are you a married student and spouse with or without dependents? You pick what your situation is, and then if you have dependents, you would put them in here. So you can see I'm a single parent student and I have 2 kids. That's going to automatically calculate for you your living allowance total for the 4 months. So this is looking at your shelter, food, transit, utilities, childcare, personal health care, clothing, and communications. These are the same numbers that Saskatchewan Student Loans uses to determine your costs for a student loan. So they aren't just random numbers that we picked. We are going with what the government has said. This is what a typical student should be experiencing for costs, and that's what we put in there. So if we save this page, I'm just going to come up here and save it. You can see now that it has calculated my cost of course load and then also my living allowance. There is a spot down here for other expenses, so average amount per month. Those are for very, very special circumstances. So some examples, if you're an international student and have international differential fees, we don't actually have a spot to put those in there, so you would put them in the other expenses category. If you are a student with a disability who requires special equipment, you could put that in there as another expense. If you have a child with a disability or who requires extensive dental work or something, you could put that in as another expense. So this shouldn't include your rent or groceries, childcare, credit card debt, car payments. Like, none of that should appear in here. That should all be included in your living allowance. Okay, typically we don't expect to see anything in here. And if you do put a number in there, we do want an explanation of what that's for. Okay, and then your resources for this semester. So how are you paying for your expenses? How are you paying for your tuition, your rent, your food, all that sort of stuff? What is your method of payment? If you're getting a student loan and have no other means of paying for it, fine. Leave all this blank, put zeros in, whichever one works better for you. If you're getting a bank loan or a line of credit because you didn't qualify for a government student loan, those are not resources. That is money you are borrowing. So if that is your situation, just throw an explanation in down here that says, I have a line of credit or I have a bank loan. I have no other means of paying for it. Don't count that as a resource because it's money you do have to pay back in the end. Resources is money that you already have in your hands that you have not borrowed from somewhere, or money that you expect to have this semester if you're working, for example. So you would put that all in here. So personal savings, let's say you've got $2,000. And then your parents or spouse are contributing. Sure, let's say my husband's giving me $3,000. Oh, no, wait, I said I was a single parent, so I'm going to say 0. Expected income, I can't work a lot. I've got 2 kids. I'm in school full time. But let's say I'm planning to make $300 a month. So I expect to make over 4 months $1,200. Have you received any scholarships, awards, or bursaries? I'm going to say no. Do you have RRSPs you're using to pay for this or any other investments that are giving you a dividend or something that you're going to use to pay for school? You would put that in. Government benefits, third-party funding. Do you have RESPs that you're using to pay for school? Do you have some other method that we haven't covered here already that you're using to pay for school? So anything that you're using to pay for school would be listed in here. Okay, and then you can save it. And then you can see that my resources have calculated too. Okay, so then if we move on, now we're on the personal statement. So as I mentioned, only one personal statement is to be submitted and must contain all additional information required for all the awards for which you are applying. So every award that you're applying for, this is where you're going to talk about the things that you need to talk about for them. That's the leadership, your involvement in extracurricular activities, your involvement in community volunteer service, and your career goals. Okay, you don't need to, if none of the awards are asking about career goals, it is nice to throw a little paragraph in there, but it's more important to make sure you're talking about the things that the awards are asking for. Okay, so you've written your personal statement, you've saved it in Word, or you've saved it in PDF. then you want to browse for it and attach it to your application. So again, you just click on Browse, find the award, or find your write-up, and then click on Attach. Okay, so then if we move on, now we're on the extracurricular involvement page. So you can see here that you start with just one extracurricular involvement and one community and volunteer service. To add more, it's just right up here under other actions where, oh, no, sections I must complete for. You can add extracurricular involvement, create it, and then now you can see there's 2 records there. So you can just keep adding more records for all the different things you're involved in. Okay, and so we're going to put, so extracurricular involvement is those things you do in school or on campus. So let's say I am the treasurer of the Arts Student Society. I started doing this, let's say September 1st, 2014. And then I decided at the end of last year that I was done, so I stopped 30th of April, 2016. So the dates don't have to be exact. Like maybe I didn't start doing the treasurer work until September 10th. But I don't remember the exact date. I know it was in September sometime that year. I'm just going to put September 1st. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be close. Okay, if you are still involved in that activity, you just leave the end date blank. Okay, so let's say I didn't stop doing that. I'm still doing it. Leave that blank. And then we want to know how involved are you in this thing. So you're going to pick per day, week, or month. And then how many hours is it? So let's say this is 2 hours per week that I have to do this treasurer activities for this club. And then is it for a class? Like is a class requiring that I do this thing? Am I being paid to do it? And paid, we don't want to know that you work at chapters or at the gas station. That's not the kind of employment we're looking for. This is more things like you coach a soccer team and you get a little bit of money for doing that. Or you play piano at your church and they give you a little bit of money for doing that. Those are things that are not typical employment that they're maybe giving you a little bit of money for, but you're not really getting paid to do it. Okay, so I'm going to say this is volunteer. And then again, clicking on that next button will move me to the next record. It's giving me a pop-up that I'm missing one or more required fields. Do I want to save this record anyway? That's because I let that end date blank. Okay, it's saying, oops, you forgot something here. Do you want to save it anyways? I do. So I'm going to hit OK. Okay, and then now I'm on the community and volunteer service. Again, it's got that link in the top of the page to add extra sections for it. I'm not going to do that here. I showed you how to do that on the other one. And then this one here is basically the exact same thing as the other, as the extracurricular involvement. This is just things you do outside of school. So let's say that my role is I do research. So I'm a researcher for the Canadian Cancer Society. And I started doing that, oh God, I can't remember. I think it was in June last year. So June 1st, 2015. Again, I'm still involved doing that, so I'm going to leave that blank. Let's say I do 10 hours a month. So 10 hours per month. And this was a class requirement. I was told that I had to go and do something for this class, so I figured that this was a good thing to do. So I'm going to leave that as class requirement. Then I'm going to click on next. I do want to save it anyway. Sometimes, depending on the awards you apply for, you might see some other requirements at the bottom of the page. If you do, just go in there and complete those as well. So one of the awards I applied for was for an Aboriginal student, so I need to self-declare as Aboriginal. So I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say that I am a status Indian. And you can see here that there's no more next button on this page. That's because I've reached the bottom of my application. So I don't need to do anything down there. So I'm just going to save this page like this with the save button. One thing to note that I forgot to mention, you may or may not see all of these sections appear in your application. Sections will only pull in if you've applied for an award that requires you to complete that section. So if you haven't applied for anything that has a financial disclosure section, you're not going to be required to fill that out. Okay, so SAMS is a little bit smart in that way that it's not going to pull those sections in unless it actually needs to for you. Okay, so now I know that I've gone through and I've finished filling in my application, so I'm going to click here to go to the final submission area. which is going to take me back up to my fall 2016 awards I am applying for. Okay, so now at this point here, I do recommend that you go all the way back through your application just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Okay, because you went through, maybe you did it all at once, maybe you did it all in just little spurts here and there. If you've missed any sections, if you haven't attached a document that you need to attach, we will eliminate you from being eligible for that award. So it's really, really, really important that you go back through and just make sure that you filled everything out that you need to fill out. Because we cannot put you in for an award if you didn't fill in everything you needed to do for it. Okay, so I do recommend doing a last double check. So once you have done that double check, you're sure everything's filled out, you're confident with what you have, you would click on Submit Completed Application for all awards. The first pop-up you get is basically what I just said, going through and making sure you've done everything. Now you're confirming that you actually did fill in all of those different sections that you needed to fill in. So I'm going to say OK. Then you get another pop-up. Once you've submitted your application, you cannot make changes to it. You cannot add any awards, you cannot complete any sections, you cannot add documents. Everything gets locked down. So if you're confident that you've added everything, you've filled everything out, you don't need to make any changes, you would say yes. If you submit your application and realize 3 days later and it's still before the deadline that oopsies, you found another award you want to apply for, or you want to change your personal statement, you just have to give us a call or send us an email and we can open it back up for you. Okay, so now that I've submitted my application, I get a message at the top saying your application has been submitted and that you have successfully submitted your application. So once you've done that, you know that it's been sent away, it's locked down. Like I said, if you need us to open it back up for you, we absolutely can do that for you. Okay, so now I'm going to open it up for questions. Hopefully you wrote those down if you had any. There's going to be a number up here on the screen that you can phone if you have questions you want to ask us. We'll wait about a minute or so to see if anybody phones in. And if you don't, then that's good. And you're free to go if you have no questions. Yes, that's actually sort of a good question. I'm going to reword it though. You fill in the application for all of the awards you're applying for at once. So don't add one award. I think this is the answer to your question. Don't add one award to your application, fill out the sections, and then submit it because you're not going to be able to add any more awards. Is that sort of what you were asking? So it's one application for everything. You submit everything at one time. Are there any more questions? Just give it a few more seconds. All right, so not seeing any questions coming through. Like I said, if you do have questions, just feel free to go to from our website to the homepage. It's just uregina.ca/SAFA, S-A-F-A, which stands for Student Awards Financial Aid. And then just down here at the bottom, there's the Contact Us, and you can just give us a call anytime. So thanks for coming out, and good luck with your applications.